Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Macon-Bibb County Pre-Commissioning Acting as a Committee of the Whole. Today is Tuesday, May the 16th, and the time is now 4:33. I do appreciate everyone being here today. And before we begin our regular meeting, Committee of the Whole, we have just a few announcements. And I think, where's Attorney Howard at? You let me? We can have Attorney do it from up here.
Yeah. Y'all know I like to introduce you guys to anyone new that we have in our office. You guys come up and visit us from time to time. And so we have an intern that is starting with us today. And I'd like to invite her up to the podium.
No embarrassment.
We all prepared a couple of questions, so just bear with us.
Y'all, this is Jenny Calhoun. She is a rising 2L at Mercer Law School. And she's going to be primarily assisting Frank Howard with the Blight program and the code enforcement program in our office for the summer. And so we're very excited to have her.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go ahead and begin our meeting. We'll start with the approval of the minutes and go through this agenda. I don't know of any reason to go into executive session right now, but we do have it on the agenda in case a need does arise. And at the completion of or near the end of the agenda, after the executive session, I will be presenting the 2024 budget presentation for the commissioners as well as those at home. So this time we have the approval of the minutes from the May 2nd, 2023 meeting. I get a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Brunson, second by Commissioner Howell. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 2 is appointment to authorities, boards, and commissions. I will tell you that we have several appointments tonight, and we do not have everyone here. We do have the new folks coming because there's just a lot of folks, and they've been on the board for numerous years, and some of them are actually commissioners on this board. So the first one we have is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to appoint Kevin Poss. I think I saw Kevin. He is here today to serve as a member of the retirement board for the Macon-Bibb County Pension and Retirement Systems Division A plan. He is here with us today. He is an employee with the facilities, does a wonderful job, and I looked over a qualification list and I recommended him for approval. So this time, I entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Commissioner Wilder. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. He got in just before you did. A motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item B is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to reappoint Sandra Brown to the Region 2 Department of the Behavioral Health and Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board. This time I entertain a motion to reappoint Ms. Brown. Commissioner Lucas, I forget your name. Second by Commissioner Bronson. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and we sent to consent agenda. Item C is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission reappointing Karen Collier, Christy Lucci, Paul Bronson, Valerie Wynn, Christopher Patterson, some of those pictures in front of you, to the Pension Trustees Board of the Macon-Bibb County Pension Plan. At this time, we'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Commissioner Bronson. I don't know. Y'all check those taxes, make sure they were paid. All right. We have a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Hey, I like when they nominate themselves. At least they don't nominate somebody else and try to come off the board. Item D is a resolution of Macon-Bibb County Commission reappointing Raymond Wilder, Paul Bronson to serve as members of the Macon Fire and Police Retirement Board of Trustees of the Macon-Bibb County Pension Plan. Can we get a motion to approve? Motion by Commissioner Bronson. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Howell. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. This motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item E is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission reappointing Marvin Riggins and Todd Dixon as members of the Region 5 Emergency Medical Services Council. Both of those have come up for renewal, and it's my recommendation that they be accepted. At this time, we'd entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Bronson, second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item F is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to reappoint Emily Hopkins, Aaron Keller, Alex Morrison, Kimberly Pickens, Wayne Woodworth, George Thomas Jr., and Gregory C. Glover to the all-important Arbor Conservative Board. At this time, I entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Clark. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. And Commissioner Lucas, you had a question?
Yeah, we just routinely approve a lot of these, but that Arbor Conservation Board is an important one, and they do some things. I see Mr. Morrison is here. I just look up.
Right.
Just wondered, are you being reappointed? Is he being
These are all reappointed.
reappointed? Okay, what's one thing that you've done? I know this was the old tree commission, but I think Arbor Conservation Board,
Yes,
it's better.
yes. As a member of that board, we had several meetings early on. We looked at the tree policies that are governed by Mr. Glisson's office, and made some recommendations for tweaking those. We helped with planting an orchard in East Macon that would act as a fruiting and productive orchards for people to be able to find foods, and also as an educational opportunity. We assisted with some cherry blossom tree plantings as well as plantings in some of our parks.
Okay, where are we as far as the canopy for Macon-Bibb? Because at one point we were paving ourselves into heat strokes and stuff. Are we any better?
That is something that we looked into, and Mr. Glisson's office has made a concerted effort to make sure that when we are planting trees, we are planting trees that actively produce shade and are making sure that we are producing a canopy. That has been a county-wide look at those sorts of things, including making recommendations to the zoning commission on how to put in those types of rules into the zoning process, most of which has been implemented and incorporated into the comprehensive land development resolution, which we're very excited about seeing some of those be implemented over time. I'm not prepared to answer what the tree canopy outlook is, but it is something that that board has looked into and hopes to make a big impact on over time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Allison, Mr. Morrison. Ms. Lucas, I'm butchering up some names tonight. Commissioner Wynn, do you have a question?
Yes, I'm just since Commissioner Lucas is asking questions, how often does the Arbor Conservation Board meet? You knew you shouldn't have sit down.
It meets as needed, at a minimum quarterly. So it's not one that tends to meet on a regular basis.
Okay.
Thank you for the answer. Commissioner Bronson?
So in regards to recommendations, like we want to recommend a canopy on MLK or somewhere on Houston Avenue, how do we go about doing those type of things?
So the board has no power beyond what is granted by this commission.
Really?
So the commission would have to make those decisions anyway.
Oh, that shouldn't be a hard thing.
Thank you, Mr. Bronson. All right, we do have a motion and second. If there's no further questions,
All right.
all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item 3A is an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize a supplemental appropriation of $368,000 from the general fund balance for the purpose of funding contractual lifeguard services for Macon-Bibb County Recreation and Lake Toby-Sofkey for the year 2023. At this time, we entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wilder. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Jones. Question, Commissioner Watkins.
Yeah, I was just wondering, does this create a situation where we'll be opening all pools on day one, or how is this, or is this distributed in some type of other way?
I think this gives us sufficient staffing, but if the pools
I'm
themselves
looking for the
are
county
ready for
manager.
opening, for maintenance. I was looking for Dr. Moffett, I don't see
I'm
him.
going to do the best I can. I was looking for Dr. Moffett. We have typically hired people, and we've run them through the part-time line. This is now really working with a group who's going to go find the lifeguards, and they think they're going to be more successful in finding them. We struggled with that in the last couple of years, being able to source them ourselves. So this management group is going to help source and train the lifeguards, and so that's why we were trying to put the contract in place. I know that they are trying to open pools. In the budget blur, I saw an email about one of the pools maybe has something to be fixed, so I don't want to say that until I can go back and check which one it is, but they're trying to get as many open that unless they, oh, look, there he is.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Sorry about that. I had a family emergency. Yes, we are opening the pools. We'll be putting that schedule out. The pool that Ms. Moore was referenced is Bloomfield. It has a bad pump, and by the time we try to repair the pump, so it will not be open this season. We looked at it, has a pump and another leak in it. So Bloomfield will not be open. We are looking at providing transportation for kids in that community to Memorial, either Frank Johnson, via the vans. So I don't know how far Ms. Moore got, but in the past, we had lifeguards in our part-time budget. And we've had difficulty getting lifeguards for our pools and Lake Tobesofkee. So what the director did, he suggested that we get a management company to handle that for us. And so that's what we've done. So they'd be responsible for getting the lifeguards for there and Tobo. If you recall, in the past, we did not have lifeguards at Tobo. We just put out signs, swim at your own risk. So but this contract will have lifeguard at 5 of the pools and Lake Tobo. But we've had to do this supplemental because in the past, with being in the budget with part-time, we could pay it in that month. But because we have to pay this contract and have it accounted for in the system, we need to go ahead and do the supplemental for the full amount. Because in the past, we could pay it up to June 1st, and then next year's budget could start over to cover July and the week in August that we're open.
Okay, Commissioner Bronson?
So I know we're getting the pools open. In regards to accessibility, where are we with that? And I'm trying to make sure I say this politically correct. Handicap accessibility. Where are we at with? Has that conversation been brought up at all in regards to? Is that something that we can probably start the discussion on in that regard?
Yes, I've not had any complaints or questions about handicap accessibility. In my mind's eye, I believe I've seen pools that we have the wheelchair access. Don't quote me on that, but I believe we have that.
Okay.
But yes, we can definitely have that conversation, but I've not had any calls or concerns of someone saying that our pools are not handicap accessible.
Okay, cool beans. Thank you so much.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yeah, I noticed in reading the text of the legislation that the cost is split evenly between Macon-Bibb's recreation, the pools, and Tobo.
Split proportionally based on the number of lifeguards they're going to have.
I think it says half. I think I read where it says half of the money was going, because that caught my attention, and I was wondering why. And I was going to ask, is that an equal distribution of lifeguards, or why would it be?
I need to verify that. If it's a Scribner's error, I get with the attorneys and work on that. But it should be based on the number of lifeguards that each department will be using.
That was what I was thinking. I just wondered if there were going to be more at Tobo, or or what was going on with that.
In light of what happened last summer, I do know that he asked for additional lifeguards at Tobo. So I don't know the exact number, but I will find out and make sure. But the ideal is that it's proportionate based on the number of lifeguards each department will be using.
Attorney McNeil?
So if you look at the exhibit that's attached to the resolution, this was what Finance sent for the supplemental, and it says take 368,000 from fund balance, put 184 in contractual services for the rec department, and 184,000 to the transfers to Tobesofkee. So that's where the even distribution language came from, was because the transfer document said put the same amount in each account.
Okay. What company
That's a
Right,
few
or
items
you
down in
use-
the agenda.
Okay, okay. Because I was wondering, I know a few years back, we did have someone who was in charge. We contracted with them to do the pools, Alex Petrak. And we ended that contract a few years ago. And I just wondered if that was the person who was gonna be doing it.
It's aquatic, let's see, Amelia of Georgia, LP, Aquatic Management Services for lifeguard and aquatic management services. It's gonna be item 5A when we get to that. Okay, and we had a
I
couple
just
more
didn't
questions,
see
Commissioner
the
Watkins?
name.
Yeah, I was remembering as well. Years ago, maybe close to a decade ago, before we broke pool management, it was managed by, and it wasn't just the lifeguards, it was also the maintaining of the pools. And then we got to where we thought we could do it in-house for cheaper, and all the seals broke, all the pumps broke, and we didn't want to pay for it, but that was why we were paying all that money to the pool guy to maintain them 24/7. And I was wondering, I see the lifeguard, and I think this is a step in the right direction. Is there a additional piece on the actual management of the pools?
No, we have, like the director is certified, and I do know that he has another staff person that can do all the chemicals and the maintenance for the pumps. But again, this Bloomfield pump, when they started up this season, that's when they noticed the leaks and everything, and we just didn't have enough time to get the parts and repair it by season opening. So I'm not saying it probably won't be finished, not to say it won't be completed during the next couple of months, but we did not want to go ahead and advertise it to be open knowing it won't be open the first day.
Respectfully, I would have been shocked, stunned, if all the pools would have opened all the time and stayed open. It's been years, maybe more than 5, since we as an organization, I'm to blame for this as well, have been able to pull that off. Most recently, one pool's down now. The whole entire water park is down. Again, not pushing, but if y'all were to come with we're outsourcing pool management, I wouldn't be opposed to it because it looks like we need some help. But yeah.
Okay. And going back, I was informed all pools are ADA accessible.
Commissioner Bronson?
Last question in regards to safety, and thank you for that. Defibrillators, AEDs, CPR equipment, all that stuff is up to par as of right now with our pools. I just want to make sure we got that part of the conversation in. I noticed that 1 or 2 locations didn't have defibs, and that was one of the big concerns we've had nationally wise, let me say it that way, in regards to defib. Do we have any, is our stuff up to date, should I be asking? That's the right question should be asking.
To you on that one.
Okay.
I do not know the answer to that.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Commissioner Watkins?
And just following up the commissioner's point, I'm curious, who's responsible? Who's the ultimate person accountable? Because if it was a contract, then this would be on the contractor to make sure that defibrillators and safety things are there. But who, I guess, within our organization, where does the buck stop with those questions? Because those are serious health questions. We finna have hundreds of kids running through pools,
Again,
walking.
I do not know the answer to that. I will tell you that personally, under the county manager's office, I have had a training with the department heads on defibrillators. I have assigned the EMA director. We're doing an assessment of all the buildings to see about what the needs for defibrillators are on each floor. He has given me that information, and I am evaluating where we need to install defibrillators throughout all county facilities. So I've been working on that ever since the incident nationally happened a couple of months ago. But
I
as of
think
right now-
ultimately, though, that the recreation center is going to be falling under Robert Walker as Parks and Recreation Director, so he would be the person it would fall upon
Right.
for those particular facilities. Any other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, we do have a motion and a second. If there's no further questions, we'll take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item B is an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize a budget transfer within the tax commissioner's budget in amount of $65,000 from the salaries and wages full-time line item to contract labor contractual services line item. Something we've done many times, especially during the end of budget season. So at this time, we entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Jones, we have a second. Second by Commissioner Wynn. All those in favor, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and we sent the consent agenda. Item C is the ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to authorize a budget transfer within the IT budget, department budget, in a total amount of $73,927.98 between the line items specific herein to provide funding for various planned purchases and expenses as provided herein. We have a motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries to be sent to consent agenda. Item 4A is an ordinance of the Macon-Bibb County Commission to adopt the Economic and Community Development Department ESG, Home, and CDBG proposed budgets for fiscal year 2024. We have Ms. Jackson here today. Jackson, if you'd like to make any comments, now will be the time before we ask for any questions or discussion on this matter. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. So with economic and community development, these are funds that we receive from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. With the funds that we have received, that will be emergency solutions grant funds. I do have a presentation we can go through very quickly.
Sure.
Just to give you what that breakdown is. As we go to our next slide, we talk a little bit about economic and community development and with regards to the purpose as far as these funds that are before us. We primarily focus on housing as well as social services and economic development. As we go to our first funding source, we will look at emergency solutions grant on our next slide. So with our next slide and emergency solutions grant funds, we'll do home funds and then we'll do community development block grant funds. So next slide, emergency solutions grant. Those are the funds that we utilize for activities for those individuals that are in jeopardy of becoming homeless or are considered to be truly homeless according to the Department of Housing and Urban Development standard. As we move to our next slide, we'll talk a little bit about what that breakdown looks like as far as the funds that have been appropriated this year as far as that funding source from Macon-Bibb County. Based upon the Department of Housing and Urban Development, that is $154,000 that we will receive at this particular time. We have the breakdown that's there before us. The next one we have is the actual home funds. With home funds, we have affordable housing. With affordable housing, these are funds that we utilize as far as whether it be rental or whether it be home ownership opportunities for those individuals that are low to moderate income. With home funds, for our next slide, we will show the amount that we will be receiving for this year. The amount that we anticipate is approximately $1,003,922 as far as those funds that will be directly from the Department of Housing and Urban Development, as well as some additional funds as far as our program income of approximately $125,000, and then our home match of $125,490 is what we anticipate for $1,254,414. Then at the bottom of there, it just talks a little bit about those expenses that we will. Oh, I'm sorry, back one more. I'm sorry. So at the bottom of there, we will talk a little bit as far as those expenses that we anticipate. With this particular funding source, there is 15% that must be set aside as far as community development housing organizations. For those, that will be $150,588. We also have, as far as the administrative costs associated with this grant, approximately $112,892. And then for developer projects, and again, these are projects that fall within the realm of home ownership as well as rental properties, whether it's construction or whether it is rehabilitation. That will be $865,932. And then for down payment assistance, that'll be approximately $125,000 that we're looking at for this year, which then adds up to be the amount that we anticipate on receiving for the year. Our last funding source is community development block grant funds. As we go to the next slide, with this particular one, and again, for I did not mention this before, but we do still do on an annual basis that we take applications for each one of the funding sources. So with community development block grant funds, this is actually the one that we receive most of the applications on as far as funding. For this one, we have several things that fall up under here, all the way from social service type activities, as well as minor home repair and some infrastructure and some other things that fall up under this particular funding source. And again, all three funding sources are provided from the Department of Housing and Urban Development. As we go to our next slide, we'll go through the breakdown as far as this funding source. We anticipate on receiving approximately $1,825,318. Also approximately $85,000 and then $17,450 for a total of approximately $1,927,768. As a part of that, then we also have at the bottom there with the regards to the anticipated expenditures that will be associated with those particular funding sources. So for all of those, I know that y'all are waiting to hear what the agencies are that will actually be receiving funds for this year. One of the main things that we do have on there is rehabilitation, as far as that 439,622. Also some economic development for $40,000. We also have some infrastructure things that fall up under that $42,910 for this year. As we go to our next slide, I'm going to give a better breakdown of the last things that are listed there. Public service. So we had that amount for public service that falls into $273,798. These are the agencies that have been recommended for funding with regards to this year. Those agencies are ATAP. That would be a youth service type of agency, as well as Big Brothers Big Sisters. Then you have Crisis Line and Safe House, Family Advancement Ministries, Family Counseling Center of Central Georgia, as well as Georgia Legal Services, Home First, Mentors Project of Bibb County, and then the Salvation Army. So these are the primary agencies that fall up under our public service, which will be those social service type activities as far as recommended for funding. And then as you go to the next slide, there will be the ones that fall up under the minor home repair as far as rebuilding Macon. And they have their volunteer youth program as well as their program that they do throughout the year as far as minor home repair. So these are the funding sources, as well as our anticipated utilization of the funds that we hope to receive as far as Macon-Bibb County is concerned.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Commissioner Watkins?
So I guess overall, is the amount that we're receiving cumulatively more or less than years previous?
It's actually fluctuating about the same, just a little bit more in some categories than others. For example, with regards to our ESG, last year we received $159,534. This year we received $159,452. So it's not that much of a difference. I would say probably the main difference is that we received a little bit more on our home side, which is affordable housing, where in last year we received approximately $928,000, and this year we're receiving just a little bit over $1 million.
Are there any new programs, I guess, associated with that increase, or how does that?
So it actually goes according to the formula. So with the formula that the Department of Housing and Urban Development has, is according to the amount that's appropriated on the federal level, then based upon the number of communities that are in the pot for that year, and then also it goes into your population and then your poverty level. It's several things that actually goes into that calculation.
I'm sorry. I didn't
that's
say
not
that
what you-
correctly.
I'm sorry.
I was wondering, so it looks like there's like an extra 200,000 cumulatively for us. Are there any new programs that we're doing or new participants associated with those?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. So with these, we do have one or two new agencies that fall under the CDBG realm at this particular time. ATAP is a new agency that we have not worked with before. There's also, as a part of our on our CDBG side, there's also Georgia Legal Services. We've done them several years ago, but this will be the first time probably in over 5 years that we've actually worked with them. Then on our home side, we are in the process of actually taking applications at this particular time as far as those agencies, so I can't say as to who those agencies may be as far as moving forward. And then we've also put additional funds on our minor home repair as far as the requests that we're receiving for housing type things as far as minor home repair out of our office.
if I remember correctly, usually we do like 20 or 30 minor home repairs from what we usually get. So that's
So with regards to ours, as far as roofs, we do anywhere from 60 or more roofs a year. It just depends upon how they fall. As far as throughout the year, we've done probably as many as 75 to 100.
cool. I'm curious about the Chodo section. Do we have any Chodos active in the community right now?
Currently, we only have one active Chodo that's in the community at this time.
Are they receiving 100% of those funds, or do we have a significant fund balance
Well, right now, based upon that particular one, they have a project that they're finishing up now, so they are receiving those funds that have been allocated. Yes, and this will be a new pot that will actually be coming forward. So this is money that we have not received yet.
And I think I know about Georgia Legal Services, but I'm not familiar with ATAP. You mind just explaining?
So with ATAP, it's a new agency, and they will be providing services as far as youth type programs.
And I saw somewhere a mention of a down payment assistance program that was new.
Yes, so several years ago, we did do some down payment assistance with regards to home funds. We have not done that in several years. There are other funding sources that are also available, but we have gotten some more calls and everything else as far as assistance with regards to down payment assistance. So when I say that there are other avenues that are also available, there are funds that have been available on the state level as far as the Georgia Dream program, as well as the USDA. But USDA cannot be utilized as far as Macon-Bibb County is concerned.
And rather than me assume the down payment program focuses or targets who?
So for all of our programs, that it must serve low to moderate income individuals. So you would still be required to fall within the income levels as far as the Department of Housing and Urban Development. With us, it actually falls in the form of gap financing as far as the down payment assistance. So it would be determined based upon what your gap is, based upon what your first mortgage is that you have moving forward with.
Cool. I appreciate your indulgence. I think I'm up to speed. Did we do a point in time count, or are they still on hold? I don't know.
So point in time count, we did participate with the point in time count that was done through the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. In that particular point in time count, there were agencies that provided information, as well as several people that signed up to go out to actually do count information. That information comes from the state.
Is it available yet, or are we still waiting on the report to?
I believe that the summary of that information is available at this time, but I do believe there's some additional information to come out.
All right, I'll go looking. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Commissioner Wynn?
Yes, sir, thank you. Thank you for coming, as always, to explain things to us. You have so many acronyms that keeps me confused, but what does ATAP stand for?
So with regards to ATAP, I will provide that back to you, because that is the name that they actually provided on the application as to what that breakdown is. So I do apologize that I don't have that right in front of me.
That's okay. That was one of the new agencies you approved, I noticed you said, and I wanted to know who they were and what they do. What did you say their purpose is?
With this particular agency, they will be providing services for the youth.
For the what?
The youth.
Youth, okay. Okay, now that you said that, the second question is, do we help our seniors? You know, a lot of seniors, and I think about going down Houston Avenue, but a lot of seniors can't move out of their homes, and they cannot do the repairs and renovations. And you have money for rehabilitation and repairs. Is it limited per person or per family? Because you mentioned roofs, and roofs are expensive, and our funding is not huge for that kind of thing. But is there a limit to what you can give one person for rehabilitating their home?
Yes, there is actually a limit. The limit for minor home repair is up to $20,000. It depends upon what type of repairs that are needed. But again, these are health and safety type of repairs. So it would not be necessarily looking at it from a cosmetic standpoint. It would be health and safety. The other part to that is with regards to the roofing program, that is also the same way as far as looking at that particular information and determining what's actually needed as far as that that program is concerned as well.
Do we really reach out to the senior population to see if they have needs? I mean, when you say it's safety and health, you know, they may have a plumbing issue in their home.
That would
Ha-
fall up under that particular
Okay.
category. Yes, ma'am.
So do we reach out to them? I mean, you know what I'm saying? When seniors they're at an age where they can't move, they don't have the income to do so, and they can't fix their homes. They might have a hole in the roof, they've got a leak. Are we reaching out to that community to
So
help them?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So normally what we will do is that we do advertise as far as our programs are concerned. We also go
Advertise
to
where? I'm sorry to interrupt. Advertise where? Don't tell me the internet, because the seniors don't use the internet.
No, ma'am, I was about to give you the rest of it.
Okay, go ahead.
So we actually advertise by going to speak at church groups. We also do neighborhood watch, and then try to find other avenues. Because one thing that I will say is that when you are dealing with the senior population, that as you're providing information, that you need to go to a source that they feel comfortable actually working with. So for us to do cold calls, that actually somewhat causes them to be more skeptical as far as actually tapping into the service. I know that this sounds crazy, but it's true. Even though we may we may mail the information out to them and everything else, we get more calls or we get more actual referrals as far as word of mouth. That most individuals, when it comes to our particular services, that we've got to utilize sources that they feel most comfortable with. And here in Macon-Bibb County, it's going to be the churches, it's going to be Neighborhood Watch, and it's going to be their friends.
Good answer. I just wondered if, say, for example, I contacted your department or your agency or you and said, I know someone that needs assistance, but they don't want to come in. They're just a little, would you go out to visit with them?
So normally what we will do in that...
Say that they gave me permission to tell to you to come out.
And we do have individuals in our office. In that particular situation, it would probably be 2 individuals that would go, but we would also ask for that person that actually referred us to be with us as well, because that's the other thing is that when you're showing up to someone's house, we want to make sure that they feel comfortable with us being there. So we will also send something out ahead of time as well, just to confirm that we'll be there on such and such date.
I always have this concern because we have so many things to offer here that how do you reach all these people that really need it? That's why I ask these questions. How do you really reach them? But thank you for the information you gave.
No problem. Thank you.
Commissioner Lucas.
Thank you. I really do wish that when we're looking at the community development budget that we could have additional time on that at a separate time, because there are a number of new folks and there's some new information, more detailed information I know than you have time to share on this particular budget. It is so important, this budget, because we get it because of the negatives in the community that we're working so hard to address, and many of them are being addressed. It's slow progress. I wanted to ask you about EOC. I didn't see them. Are they in that allocation that's to come for some of the programs? Because I know they do a number of programs, and in the past they have received funding.
So up under Emergency Solutions Grant, they are receiving funds as far as Emergency Solutions Grant, but at this particular time, they do still have funds as far as transportation, and they did not submit an application for this particular round of funding.
Okay, all right, but rebuilding.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to come back to that. And I'm going to state that I saw the slide and I saw that we're still allocating a huge amount of money, a large percentage of their budget. I don't feel like that we, through your department, should allocate that amount of money. The last time we dealt with that budget, I think we were providing, it was either 29 or 39% of their yearly budget. I know all these agencies get funding from other sources, And I know that they're probably very active in fundraising and all of that. And I also question the youth who come in here every year because they receive funding through the university that sends them here for community involvement and and so we allocate money for them as well. And I've never had an answer to my satisfaction as to why we are double funding that particular program. I would like to ask if I could possibly get the last complete audit for rebuilding. And I also, and I say this, and I don't say it, I'm saying it out of concern because there are some people who have applied for funding through rebuilding, and for whatever reason, they did not receive it and they were put off and off and off. There may be an explanation for that. But over the years, I've looked at that particular budget and I've seen it remain constant, where all of these other entities, with the exception of one or two, one or two have remained constant, but they're at a very low level of funding. Like the Mentors Project, they've been getting 10, but I noticed they were 12.4 on your slide. Whereas rebuilding, the amount continues to increase, and the amount of their budget, we continue to increase our funding levels. I think that's something that needs to be looked at, and I'm going to be asking that it be looked at so that those funds, if they're not being used properly, and there are family members that are being hired and given positions through that agency over the years, as I know it's true, then we need to discontinue that and reduce that funding and put it with those agencies that, some that are giving aid to folks to get on their feet. The real reasons that these monies are afforded to us. And so I would like to get, if you would request for me, their last complete audit. And I would like to look at it, and I'm going to ask some people, since nobody else seems to want to do that. I want to make sure that that agency doesn't continue to exist off of that community development money. And then the other thing, the dental program. There was funding. Did they not request that funding for that dental program? Health Department just recently got a dentist on board, so there were many, many children who didn't have access to dental services. We were having to refer them over to Warner Robins. So wasn't there an agency that requested the dental program?
No, ma'am. Actually, this year is a little bit different, is that everyone that requested funds this year received some funding as far as our application process. I will say that with regards to dental, that Macon-Bibb EOC did have additional funds that they're working through. As far as their funds from last year, they received them a little late from us, so they did not apply at this time.
Okay, was that because they felt like they would not be funded? That additional money? They certainly have waiting lists for these. I just think there's something that's out of balance with that. You do an excellent job, and you have done for years and years and years, but I know you're strictly by the rules. But I also know that there are some ways that you can be innovative, like this morning's meeting with pedestrian safety, and that's the last thing I wanted to ask you about. If you would share what you shared with us in pedestrian safety as far as what you can do to assist with that $500,000 that the mayor allocated to pedestrian safety.
So over the years, we have actually partnered with engineering from time to time, as well as with Parks and Recreation. With regards to engineering, we have partnered as far as doing sidewalks, where from an engineering standpoint, they pay for the actual engineering fees that are associated on the front end, as far as getting everything together, putting the package together to bid, and then we pay for the construction itself. Some of the projects that we have actually done, we've done drainage projects on Short Street. We have done sidewalks in different neighborhoods as far as that particular partnership is concerned. We've also done parks. We brought that information to you all last year, where we've worked with Parks and Recreation as far as the Booker T. Washington Park, as well as the park in Village Green. So we do have opportunities that are there that we have worked with other departments as well as other agencies. So anytime that we are also doing new construction from a standpoint as far as that pedestrian safety, that we do try to make sure that if an affordable housing piece is included, that we also try to have a sidewalk that's also included as a part of that particular project as well.
Okay, and we just wanted to thank her for coming this morning and sharing that information, and we see some opportunities to enhance what you're already doing as far as pedestrian safety. Thank you.
Thank you. We have 2 more questions, I think. Commissioner Bronson?
Hey. So just to make sure I'm tracking around that end. So there is if we wanted to place like a, not necessarily a sidewalk, but an accessibility ramp for on Oglethorpe Street next to, I want to say this Alexandra. I think I'm saying that right. Will we better go through you on that end and get support to make that happen?
So what happens is that for all of our funds, it must be to serve low to moderate income individuals. For the most part, we will normally partner to pay for the construction side. So the engineering is actually done through the engineering department or whoever the other source may be as far as that particular partnership. But that is something that we could look at to determine if it's eligible as a part of that particular project.
Okay, sounds good. And thank you for that. And then the last piece too, going back to Commissioner Wynn, in regards to seniors, I've seen you move and groove on that end. We're working with our senior citizens, and I just have to say to the other fellow commissioners, if you guys are having town halls, community events, by all means invite them out, because you will see the senior, that gives them a great opportunity to really make contact with those seniors, because now they'll see you out there as a commissioner, and then of course seeing the department head here as well. I can take from experiences past deal with Houston Avenue. Even today, riding down Antioch Road, there was a group out there, not to go against you, Commissioner Lucas, but Rebuild Macon was out. They had about 20-something odd kids. Had about 20-something odd kids, and they were working on the house from a young lady that came up and actually spoke about getting that support. I think they partnered up with a RV group that was going through the neighborhood and going through the country basically, and they just decided to stop and volunteer. So there are opportunities for us. We just got to make sure we find that right means of communicating and partnering with each other. But I do want to say thank you for that and just kind of just basically give you a shout out for what you're doing, and especially the other groups that are out there working. Just to kind of see those kids out there today doing the painting was awesome. So there are things moving, and we just got to do a better job at communicating back and forth and supporting those that are doing the work. So thank you.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes, sir. Ms. Jackson, just a couple of curiosity questions from planning and administration from, I think it was the Home First part, 112,000. How many people does that, said like a 10% cap, I think on that one. I can't see the slide now, but.
Oh, you're talking about the home funds?
Yeah, the home
So
fund.
that only provides a percentage with regards to different things that we do that are associated with the home funds.
And so that 112,000 goes to how many people?
That goes to 2 people as far as construction, but there's other things that are included within that particular cost. So that's not just salaries. There's also other things as far as any type of training, those types of things that also fall up under those categories that are administrative.
And under funds from HUD on rebuilding Macon, these contractors are paid. These are contractors with licensed?
So with Rebuilding Macon, they have a variety. So it goes from individuals that are actually identified that in most instances they are individuals that are retired from the trade that actually volunteer. They have one or two individuals that may be paid individuals that actually are on the crews as a part of that. And when they come in, that our primary cost, the largest cost, is the supplies that are associated with the projects that are done.
So it's a combination of sounds like minimal pay and some volunteers.
Correct. So the majority of the work are done through volunteers. We do have some salaries in there as well, and then also the majority is construction, the actual supplies, whether it be wood that's required, whether it be painting, paint for painting. So those types of things as well that's included in that particular category.
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Watkins.
Originally, I was curious about some follow-up on the EOC thing, but before I get away from it, there's a line item with $112,000 in it, and it's enough for 2 full-time adults and enough to build a house?
No, that's only a percentage. So that's a percentage going toward, so that particular cost does not go into the construction cost. So the construction itself falls up under the actual 800 and something thousand. So any type of administrative cost, let's say if we had plans or some other things, that would come out of that particular cost as well. But the construction itself comes out of the developer's amount.
Okay, that I can parse that together.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. Go ahead.
Just on the EOC, if I'm understanding you correctly, because a lot of this, if I'm understanding, they're a longtime partner, and I think primarily funded. I don't know what percentage of their overall budget, but I know we funded them for a long time for some projects that did a lot of good. And I was curious, just based on, I guess, and again, it's not them not filling out applications, has nothing to do with you. I'm just curious on what's going on. Are we expecting any discontinuing of services, or the way that stuff is set up?
Not to my knowledge. We have not been told at this particular time that there's any discontinuing of services, and we are still working with that organization as far as the funds that we currently have contract under them for. So to my knowledge, that has not been communicated to us.
Okay, and I hadn't heard anything either, but cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Watkins. This time, I believe there's no further questions. We need a motion to approve this item. Need a motion to approve? Motion by, who's that? Commissioner Howell? Yes. Second by Commissioner Bronson. We have a motion and a second. Was that Commissioner Jones? I can't tell. Yeah. Y'all sounding like over on the right side. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Thank you. That motion carries, and thank you for being here again and being well prepared today.
Thank you.
Item 5A is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with AMI of Georgia, LP, Aquatic Management Services for lifeguard and aquatic management services in amount of up to $368,000 to be paid from the general fund recreation. This is what we discussed earlier. I think there was 14 folks contacted, and only one person submitted the final paperwork from procurement, and they selected this group. Okay, so 14 came to the meetings, 2 of which were minorities, and only one person submitted the documentation, and procurement has recommended this particular company. So I'm not sure where they're from. I'm not sure whether they're local or not. Commissioner Bronson? Commissioner Bronson?
So they just didn't submit. They came to the meeting and then didn't submit.
Yes, sir.
Do we have any reason, or do we know of any reason why they just didn't submit?
No, so that's not unusual, though. We have a lot of times where people come and then realize they have to submit paperwork and certain documentations, and they don't follow back up.
So do we have a link or a way that they can see prior to, right, if you know kind of a pre-checklist of things that you would need before coming to the meeting? And then that way, when the meeting is had, now I know already to have these things ready in hand, or is that?
They know that ahead of time. It's generally posted on our site with all the qualifications and requirements on there. And sometimes there's pre-meetings, especially like in bid projects and things like that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, Commissioner Watkins?
Yeah, I'm curious. I know
Of course.
first of the year, late last year, the commission passed an ordinance on procurement goals. And part of that was we were supposed to be receiving quarterly reports on our progress. And I know we're almost done with the second quarter, and I haven't seen report 1. So I was wondering on some update on that. And I would hope that reports would kind of speak to what Commissioner Bronson is talking about, because it may be usual for like a 14-to-1 ratio, but it's a strange thing to be usual. I think we can agree. So yeah, I'm just curious where we are.
At some point today, I sent my monthly report out. It was late because I was compiling the data that you were asking for, and then there's a procurement section that gives you the vendor from this fiscal year and the percentage of what they are. That information is to be dissected further by the Office of Small Business to look at where opportunities are, and to go in and find out those larger vendors if they have minority contracts, and then she will be able to update the spreadsheet from there. So on the front page of I think item number 2 is the procurement update. So that's the report from the procurement department, but Office of Small Business will be dissecting that information even further.
So I guess I'm curious, what does the report reveal in terms of
It gives you
participation?
asked for the vendor by sector, by all the minority groups, the 6 or 7 groups, and the percentage that we've done. And so that's what that chart shows you.
Thank you, Dr. Moffitt. At this time, we need a motion and a second. I entertain a motion for approval for the $368,000 for the company recommended. A motion to approve. Motion by Commissioner Jones. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Lucas. Mr. Bronson, do you have a question, sir?
Hey, just out of curiosity, when we speak about the minority and small businesses, have we developed that list yet of how many we are tracking, like per month, right? I know for me, when the way I work at, it's like a monthly deal. We give a report of how many we've had come through the door and how many successes I've had and how many downgrades I've had, right? So I kind of asked for that at one point as far as showing how many minority businesses are we actually touching per month or per quarter. Has that been kind of developed? Are we utilizing that by chance?
Yes, Ms. Stevens keeps up with that, but for the most part, it's a work in progress. Give an example, she was referred a couple of businesses just this last month. They didn't have a business license, so they're having to go back and do that. So to go back with ones that actually have a business license, we have that number because we get that from the tax commissioner. But yeah, she keeps a running tally of people that she wants. But a lot of times people are just, I have an idea and I want to go from that standpoint. So she keeps a log of that.
And are we offering, and this is probably a question for her, but are we offering, I'm gonna say knowledge classes, okay? Are we offering knowledge classes?
Point them in the right direction.
Yeah, to kind of get them in the door and say, hey, if you are
Yes.
interested in opening up a business, come in and sit on these things.
Yes.
Okay, how is the marketing with that? Are we having a good feedback with return?
I believe so.
Okay. All right, cool beans. Thank you so much.
Mr. Watkins?
At some point, can we go over this report? Now might not be the right time, but if I'm processing what I'm seeing correctly, I still can't really determine, like, just on local business, what does this report tell me? Where are we?
Well,
What number of, or what portion of our contracts have we awarded to local business this year?
When you get done with this, I can go over it with you.
Okay.
Because that comes straight from the check registry. Every penny that we go out is accounted for. That comes straight from the check registry.
Thank you, Dr. Moffitt. This time we have a motion and a second. There's no further questions. We'll go ahead and take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and be sent to consent agenda. Item B is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a professional services agreement with Deputy Bising, I can't pronounce that correctly, for the provision of services to the Macon Circuit District Attorney's Office Initiative Project Safety Net School Justice Partnership Grant Program to be paid for the Office of Justice Programs, the Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Programs, Mitigation Threats of Targeted Violence Grant Funds. This time we entertain a motion for approval. Got a motion by Commissioner Lucas. We have a second. Second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and be sent to consent agenda. Item C is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to approve a change order in the amount of $793,242 for the purchase of an additional 200 XL150 radios from Williams Communications, Inc., payable from the 2018 SPOS funds Public Safety Upgrade property line item. At this time, we entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Wynn. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Jones. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and will be sent to consent agenda. Item D is a resolution of the Macon-Bibb County Commission authorizing the mayor to execute a professional service agreement with Blue Cedar Counseling, LLC, the amount of $1,000 per week for the provision of clinical treatment assessor services for the State Court of Bibb County Probation Office to be paid from the general fund, State Court Probation, professional services, other line items. Entertain a motion for approval. Motion by Commissioner Howell. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Lucas. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries and be sent to the consent agenda. At this time, we do not have a need to go into executive session, and I'll have the budget presentation in just a moment. Commissioner Watkins, did you have something to add, sir?
I know last time I was asking about the road resurfacing, didn't get a chance to bring it up before we set the agenda, but again, we approved the roads list. It doesn't mirror the 4 and 5s that we verbally said, and I'm curious on what are we doing about that.
Again, that document that you're looking at, section 5 is every segment from 5 and 4, the year that it's to be paved, from 22 LMIG, 23 LMIG, 23 General Fund,
Right.
and even roads that we've paved that were not included in there because of how they came up in the order.
So my assumption on the list that you gave me with all the 4 and 5s, if it, like what on the column that says funding source, like about 12 of them say general fund 2023 or
Right.
LMIG 2022, but then the other 100+ streets are blank. And then on the other form, like the actual list of LMIG 2022 and general fund 2023, those are the only 12 streets that are cross-referenced on both, which leads me to believe that the majorities of the 4 and 5s don't have a funding source yet related to a list that we've approved.
No, incorrect.
That's not correct.
That's not correct.
Okay, so
You remember, we had to go intersection to intersection, which changed some of the streets. And that's what the confusion is, that we've had to go back, and I had engineering go back, or GIS go back and verify that each segment was accounted for in our intersection to intersection. And that's section 5 on that report I gave you. And it has every street in there from LMIG 21 all the way to General Fund 24.
okay, next time we have this conversation, I'm gonna give you an exact street name or something that I think is missing. That there's a level 4 street or worse, that it doesn't seem like it's noticed on our LMIG list
But it
that
may
we
be a
passed
level
or general
4
fund.
segment. I give you a perfect example. Me and the mayor debated this yesterday. Lamar Road, we all know it has a serious level, segment 5 in there, potholes. But the street itself is rated a 3.2.
But wouldn't it, like, the main street name would be Lamar Road, and then the cross-section streets, which are in different columns, wouldn't it be like what changed? Because it was still paving on Lamar Road. Like, even if you narrow, or how is that not sinking?
Because the task that was given was to make sure that we took care of the level 4 and 5 roads, which
Right.
is what we've done. The roads that were the intersection that made that cut. And that's where the confusion lies. But we are getting better at it, or we're not getting better at it, but we are trying to account for all those roads.
Okay, so what we both want to see accomplished at the end of our paving schedule, that we're paving about 41 miles worth of roads on the list that we passed.
I think about 48.
Okay, and there are about 45-ish miles of level 4 road or worse that existed in our city.
I believe in the report I gave you, it's like 13 miles of above level 4, and then the
25 miles.
the 25 miles that under level 4. But it had those segments in it.
In our city, in our community, right? how many segments or road miles exist that are graded 4 or worse?
I believe in the sheet that that you have in front of you, and I left my copy on my desk, I believe it's 14 miles.
Okay, so only 14 miles of bad roadway exist in our city, period.
If that's what's on that sheet, yes, because it's added up on it. Tell you what,
Okay.
during the break, I'll
Okay.
go over that with you also.
Okay, so that I think that maybe that's how I consider there's only 14 miles worth of road that are bad in our city.
Correct.
I don't think that's true. I think we're getting into a trap here. We have all the information. We'll give you all the information that you've got in that sheet. I think it tells you all the roads. Our goal is to get all 4s and 5s out of either the LMIG or our second funding. There are some roads, if you looked at the name of the road, you'll see maybe below the 4. And that's only because a large section of that road or a portion of that road is a 5. And when you go intersection to intersection, it actually decreases that amount. But any road that you think should be on that list, that's not on that list, let us know. We can pull up exactly through the robotics to see what that road is and why it's not on this list.
I guess what I'm trying to express that you've given me I received from the administration 2 lists. One list are the list of streets that we approved. One list has all of the 4s and 5s. These lists are not the same. There are more streets on the 4s and 5s, and then there are just random streets that have 2s and 3s that make up the list of what we approved. And I hear what you're saying, it's the average, but the street names are just very different. As a person who lives in Macon all his 38 years, I kind of know what our street names and intersections are. I can, like, Calaparchi, like, I know them. So that's what I'm trying to say. And I might not be doing a great job of saying it, but I can visually show it to you a little
But
later.
I was sharing with you is that as we went through this process and got GIS involved in trying to get more bang for the buck in the streets, the intersection changed. And I acknowledge that. So that's why we went back and cleared that up and gave you a detailed sheet on one Excel spreadsheet, all those streets. And they do match up with what has been approved. But remember, 24 has not been approved yet. The general fund list for 24, we're going to do that next mid-year. So that was the catch-all that we were able to do of anything that we missed. But I can show you on the break where we are with that.
All right.
Commissioner Bronson?
Hey, thank you, sir. Hey, just out of curiosity, I know a few meetings back, we tabled the House and Avenue resolution for $2.4 million for support of South Macon. And I'm familiar with the process in regards to the Committee on Committees. My question is more so toward the attorney. Without bringing it from being tabled, am I able, or are we able to continue that conversation or dialogue with each individual commissioner and or if groups, for those that are interested, that really want to put rubber to the road when it boils down to South Macon? Not a district, just the citizens of South Macon, period.
So generally, the Open Meetings Act doesn't apply as long as the group that you're speaking with is less than a quorum of the board. And
Okay.
so if you've got 5 or fewer, under our charter, 6 is a quorum. If you've got 5 or fewer that are together, you can talk about county business and not be subject to Open Meetings Act, and you can do that offline if you want to have those discussions as far as planning or figuring out, what policy making you want to do. Likewise,
That would be 4, so I want to make sure.
Yeah, 4.
You
Yeah.
got 4 or fewer, yes, sir.
what's that?
4 or fewer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you know what you're talking about. You just misspoke a little bit on the 5. 4 or fewer.
Well, the charter says 6 is a quorum,
Right.
and so, yeah, less than a quorum is okay.
Thanks,
So,
Doc.
and then as far as other communications, email is considered an exception to the Open Meetings Act. It is subject to open records, but it's not subject to the Open Meetings Act. Or if you want to have a discussion on the agenda, that would be part of the agenda process as far as considering what items go on the agenda for a committee meeting to have another discussion or something.
Okay, sounds good. So
Mr.
I'll
Lucas,
try to set that up this week.
you've
Then.
got
Thank
something
you.
further. I would like to get to the budget in just a moment, but I'll grace you. You're on, Commissioner.
Okay. In the Pedestrian Safety Review Board meeting this morning, there was a discussion of the school zone cameras, and the desire to have kind of an update, because we understand some more schools are coming online, and there was mention of making sure that we have the flashing lights and the signage in the areas, and so that was just a request that we get the most up to date, because someone also mentioned that there was an attempt at a change in the legislation during this session of the General Assembly. So we just wanted to get an update, and commissioners might want to get that same information. So I'm making that request. The other two things I wanted to ask, wanted to invite everyone to attend the Al Lucas Scholarship Program. This is the 18th year that we will be, Lucas Family and Community Foundation will be awarding scholarships in honor of our late son, Al. It doesn't seem like it's been 18 years, but he's been gone 18 years. He passed away in 2005 at age 26 due to a football injury. And so since that time, we've had the scholarship fund. Monies are administered through the Community Foundation. This particular event will honor student athletes who also have their grades together and who are also involved in community service. Those are the three criteria that we use in determining. There is an application process, and there's a committee that reviews those applications and decides. And one of the other factors is the need, whether that student's family, where they are financially. And so Al's widow and daughter and others who are on the committee will be there at the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame at 6 p.m. Friday evening. And so we invite you to come and share and congratulate those students from the public school system who will be receiving those scholarships and a big old trophy. It couldn't be a little trophy. Al was big. So anyway, and the other thing is Dr. Ficklin probably would want you to know that the GCAPS graduation is on Thursday at the Train I keep saying Recreation Center. It's no longer Recreation Center, but the Train Center at 4 p.m., where those youth leaders will be recognized and will actually graduate from the program. 4 p.m. at Train. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lucas. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the proposed fiscal year 2024 budget. As customary for myself, I am going to go to the podium, and we have about 10 or so PowerPoint presentations to you, so about 10 different shades, and I'll go down there to present that. And of course, this is just my presentation to you. I do appreciate those of you who have reached out to me for input over the last 2 weeks, and we have a schedule at the end of this that will let you know about the public hearing that will be coming up in the near future and the final anticipated vote time. But this time, I'm going to go ahead and go to the lectern and make this proposal. Well, good afternoon or good evening, everyone. It is an opportunity to be here before you today, and certainly it's my pleasure, since you only left me about 15 minutes today, to talk about $200 million, and we spent about 40 minutes talking about $1 million. I feel privileged that we are going to have some very good news to our citizens and our taxpayers in Macon-Bibb County. So if we'll go ahead and start the budget, I want to kind of just walk you through where we come through and where we're at and where we're going. First of all, as I've done the last couple of years, I like to look back, at least for the time that I've been here. Can't control what this group and others did before I arrived, but I want to kind of do a 3-year look back, and that's what we're doing today. So you'll notice that most of these slides have a 3-year look back period for the most part, including this budget here. So the first thing we're going to get to is the proposed budget history. You look at the general fund, you'll see that for the last 3 years, and you'll see what the estimated fiscal year 2024 rate is. More importantly, and I think for those that are sitting at home and the taxpayers that will, in about 2 weeks, get their bills in, they're going to see some relief in our community. Thanks to this commission, and thanks for the work for our local delegation in Atlanta, and also thanks for the 80% of our citizens who showed up to vote for the OLOST. As you can tell, just a few years ago, we had a millage rate of 20.331. We reduced the millage rate at second year of 19 to 19.901. Last year to 17.901, a 2 mil decrease. And this year, we have at least a 5 mil reduction to get us to a 12.901 millage rate, which will be the lowest in our history, but we're not done yet. We still have some more work to do when we get that in this year, and of course next year we expect a lower millage rate again for a 4th year in a row. So we promised that we're going to find a way for government to be more efficiently and provide the service areas that people need and said is most important with us. And I think this is one thing I want to highlight about this budget is what you're going to see is a gradual increase in the amount that we spend in priority areas for our community. But at the same time, which is somewhat strange for people to realize, is you're going to see a decrease in the millage rate. So we're providing more services, more funds to certain priorities that we have in our budget, but at the same time, we're going to have a decrease in the millage rate. So we talk about public safety on the next slide. We all know, we hear it every day, the media reminds it, good, bad, or indifferent, about public safety and the challenges we have throughout this world. You'll see a 3-year increase here. Public safety as a whole, just since 2021, we've increased the budget by $11,802,675.47. Keep in mind, while doing all this, we decreased the millage rate some 36%. Going to be more next year, but at least by the end of this year. You can do a quick math on that if you want to and take the 20.33 to divide, but I don't have to tell you how to do that with calculators. But more importantly, we're putting our money where our mouth is on public safety. So when someone says we're not funding public safety, you show them this slide. Show them that we're spending almost $12 million more just in the last 3 years on public safety. Public safety includes our fire, sheriff, and our EMA. Public safety was a top priority. We've been hearing this all along. This also includes a $1.8 million for 442 people that in the Senate package, so we can reward those men and women that have been here for a while and have stayed here consistent with Macon-Bibb County, so we don't have as much turnover here. So that was a part of the incentive program that we use to fund, and you'll start seeing that each and every year increase, because as we have people here, they reach a higher plateau. And I can tell you every January when they get those checks, whether it's $2,500, $3,500, or $5,500, they're thankful for working for Macon-Bibb County, and that's just another pay that they get. And more importantly, this commission made a decision over 2 years ago to make sure they got this incentive, but also make sure it was included in part of their retirement. So that'll be a part of their pension as well. We've also going to continue to improve our fire department. As many of you went out to the public safety training center that we have, you saw the wonderful job that Warren Selby and his group did, and we have phase 2 coming up that you approved just recently. We're continuing to hire more deputies through the decrease of shortage, both part-time and full-time. I'll let the sheriff, I don't want to steal his thunder, but I have seen some great numbers over the last several months, going back to the last couple of years actually, where we've increased the amount of people we have both full-time and part-time, and hopefully that will make a difference in changing response times and eventually what we have as far as our response times as far as our crime as well. Expanded our EMA program, community can be prepared ahead of a disaster, and our responses can be more coordinated when they do happen. So public safety has always been a top priority, and you can see this time is no exception. We've continued to be the largest part of our budget. Beautification. We talk about beautification. Sometimes we talk trash more than we talk other things in this community, and that's fine. And this board in particular, if we get into a litter pickup, every light that I see there is going to light up. But you'll see since 2021, over a three-year increase of $1.78 million. We're putting our money where our mouth is on getting serious about this pickup. And I can't talk about our Clean Streets Matters program anymore, just to tell you that we've had 6.5 million pounds of trash and debris from nearly 600 illegal dumps. We're holding 300 community cleanups. I will thank Aisha Allen for doing a great job with Keep Making Bibb Beautiful under her leadership over the last couple of years. She is getting people engaged, and we are giving her the resources to work with to make sure that's going to happen. Macon Water Authority continues to join in our effort to sweep the streets, clearing nearly 8 million pounds of dirt for nearly 800 miles of streets. Yes, we don't want to be in the business of cleaning up behind grown folk, but unfortunately in today's world we have to do that. And as I may get discouraged just like you do when I see a street get cleaned and the next day or two or a week it's dirty again, we have to continue to send that message that this is something that we won't settle for. So we're going to step up enforcement where we can, but more importantly, we're going to keep taking care of that and trying to reach out to our youth to educate them on programs so we don't continue to have this problem in the future. I'd much rather use this money for other efforts. So beautification has always been a top priority. Going to move on to blight enforcement. Code enforcement, over the last 3 years, we've had an increase of $827,000, 540. Many of you attended the event that we had over there on what we have referred to in East Bank over on Coliseum Drive, where we took down our 500th structure in the last less than 2 years, actually. It's a great feat for our community, for our neighborhoods, but we're not done there. We're removing dangerous structures from our neighborhoods. We're tearing down blighted houses, and hopefully we're going to start rebuilding and doing infielding in those neighborhoods. That's because of great partners like code enforcement, our attorneys working diligently behind the scenes on all of these policies that we've done, our public works department being ready, willing, and able to come through there and demo some of these properties when they could do that. Because of great companies like Terracon, who does all of our inspections to make sure that we have a clean environment and make sure that we take care of the asbestos and the lead and all those other dangerous substances. It's because of Macon Water Authority that agreed to work out a addition where we disconnect these places and fast track some things that we're doing. And because of all the wonderful people we have on our private demolition who are ready, willing, and able to do the job at a reasonable price. We have a lot more work to do. I'm excited about how we continue to take care of these dangerous structures. I will tell you that these structures are not ones that can be saved. If they could be saved, they wouldn't be on our list. They're dangerous. They provide a danger to our community, and we need to get them removed. And I think people are excited about seeing that pop up every day on how many houses that we're being able to tear down and get out of their neighborhoods. And they personally called our office, and I'm sure many of you have heard the same. So code enforcement continues to be a priority. Recreation. When we talk about recreation and we talk about all the things we've done, this commission and the previous commission funded a lot of SPOS dollars to recreation. A lot of SPOS dollars, really heavy on those. But you can see since 2021, while decreasing the millage rate, we've also increased the amount that we spent in the 3 years to $1.781 million. That says a lot that we value our children and we continue to make sure they have a good place to go and a good facility to go to. Continuing to improve our facilities through our SPOS, expanding programs to better meet the needs of our youth. We announced just recently a grant that we received to continue up to, I think he said 800 kids for very, very inexpensive summer camps this summer for enrichment programs and STEMs and tutoring. It's not just about playing basketball and football. It's all those other wonderful things that we get to do. And they get a meal there while they're there for only $180 for a 6-week period. You can't beat that anywhere. Though it's not the general fund, we're moving forward with pickleball at the mall. We've got an interest in tournaments coming there. I can't have a conversation without talking about that wonderful event. It's going to bring a lot more money to our community that people realize that. It's going to help our community health and increases the amount of sales tax that's collected, which in turn gets us back to that first slide where you saw the millage rate continue to decrease. So we're continuing to put our money where our mouth is in regards to budget and recreation. We're doing it in a smart way. We're doing it in a way that we can manage in a more efficient way. What would one of my budgets be without talking about possession and safety? Otherwise, Commissioner Lucas will be on me again. So you can see we went from $0 to $500,000. We're going to continue that line of improvement. I'm happy to say, and I think that Commissioner Lucas will reinforce that we have a lot better working relationship with GDOT now. We're starting to make some real strides. People are coming on board. You heard from Ms. Jackson earlier. We're starting to do some things, and we're going to start making sure that we address public safety in a manner, pedestrian safety in a manner that we should do so. It's not perfect yet. We were the first ones that got started on this in the state. We're used as a model. We don't get the credit for it because of the casualties that we have. But I do think we're moving in the right direction. Under my administration, we're going to continue to fund pedestrian safety as long as I'm here, and I hope to add to that in the future through some other grants and some matching funds. So thanks everyone, including the Pedestrian Safety Review Board, for the constant time they meet. There's a lot of people on that board. You can make sure when you go to that board, it's a live conversation. They're very engaged. They meet very often. So we appreciate all the good work that they've done, and Greg Brown continues to lead that organization. Economic development. You know, this is where we really have hit a home run over the last couple of years. I can tell you it's because we funded it. When you fund things that are important to you, good things happen. And you can see we've had $650 million in private investment just in the last year. 660 new jobs and 525 jobs that were retained. You know, every community is going to have a company that has 50 or 60 people, or a small company that leaves and comes and goes. That's just the nature of the business. Some of that's not within our control. Maybe there's the shortage coming on the national audience. But our industrial authority, under the leadership of Stephen Adams and Robbie Fountain as chair, has done a wonderful job. And I'll tell you some other assets that we added with Ember Bentley there from Middle Georgia State University, knowledgeable about air, and Dr. Cassandra Washington, who I had the pleasure to work with. Workforce development, she knows it like no other. They have done a wonderful job on that board. We've increased our giving to the economic development over $4.2 million over the last 4 years. And I can't say enough about Alex Morrison. He spoke with you a little bit earlier with the Urban Development Authority. Alex is one of those people who, he probably comes the close to anybody of trying to outwork me. He's always here in the morning. He's always here when I leave in the evening, and he serves on several boards, and a lot of it goes unnoticed. But he doesn't seek out the limelight. But I can tell you, the Urban Development Authority is a quality board, and they're doing a wonderful work in Macon-Bibb County, and they certainly don't get enough credit for it. I look forward to what they're going to bring us in a new amphitheater. There's my next plug coming up very near soon. It was my pleasure to participate with our meeting that we had last week with each of you to see what progress we've made at that amphitheater and everything that's going on in the mall. So thank you, Alex, for your work. Thank you for the Industrial Authority for your work, and all of our authorities that continue to work together for the betterment of our community. Health and community services is another area that's important to us. As you can see, in our last 3 years, we've increased that almost $2 million. Government is about more than just what our departments do. It's about what we have to make sure are helping our community partners on, and that we can support the growth that we have. Many of you may say, what is health and community services? Those are things that you may look like the Macon Transit Authority that we recently discussed here about the fare increase and how we work things out. Increase things like DFACs and how we fund DFACs, the food bank, the library system, and much, much more. We continue to put our money where our mouth is again on that, given almost $2 million increase in the last 3 years without a millage rate increase. As a matter of fact, we've decreased the millage rate, which next year will be some over 40%. In conclusion, I wanted to get you a timeline of our proposed budget deadlines. As you can see today, I'm presenting the mayor's presentation on a proposed budget. Tomorrow we will be running in the Macon Telegraph a copy of our budget advertisements as required by law. June the 6th at 5 o'clock, we will hold a public hearing. June 20th at 6 o'clock, Commission is scheduled for a preliminary vote on the 2024 budget. This is something that we're going to maintain and do. And just this is the tip of the iceberg on what we've able to accomplish, because it's not just about us. It's about all of our wonderful partners. And I know you heard me at the State of the Community talk about the team effort, but this has always been about team. It's never about the person sitting in front of the mic. I'm just the person that's chosen on this day at this time to present this. We have great partners. We have continued to be led by Visit Macon with our festivals and bringing more and more people to our community. Gary Wheat does a wonderful job with he and his staff, and I can tell you they really stepped up their game. And why is that important to Bibb County? We're talking here now, people say, why aren't you talking about public safety? Well, guess what? We're talking about Visit Macon today because Visit Macon brings a lot of money into our community. If they continue to host these events and look for creative ways, now that we have the OLAS, it's going to create more money for everybody in our community, where everybody gets a piece of the pie. And of course, your property owners and your business owners, they're going to get that information, they're going to get that money, they're going to get that break that they need on property, and they'll be able to reinvest that in our community, and hopefully they're going to buy locally. We have more visitors in the Old Muggin National Mounds this year, and we expect that expansion and redesignation to come soon. If any of our legislators are watching this right now, please do what you can to support that and make sure that happens this year. Macon Water Authority is investing in infrastructure. I hope you notice some change, even though we're still a challenge when we have floods. I have a lot less calls than we normally have, so I know some work is getting done. Macon Mental Health Matters is helping get people to a better place. I could be no prouder than, more proud about a program that I am for Macon Mental Health Matters. I truly believe that they're making a difference in people's lives. Some of you may not see right away, but some of it we see, some of it we hear about, and I can tell you people are talking about it all across the state. So I thank Ms. Cisse and Ms. Cook for all their wonderful work they continue to do. Even when they're not getting paid, they're helping. If we have an issue coming up on some important measures with the sheriff, or we have a suicide, or we have a victim, we're able to contact them, and they do the work without any questions being asked. So we continue to want to thank them. Historic Macon and Habitat for Humanity are helping strengthen the neighborhoods with removing blight. We can't do all the work that we do without these type of partners. And I can't say enough about the Knight Foundation, the Peyton Anderson Foundation, and the Community Foundation of Central Georgia for continuing to support so many of our community organizations. We are very, very fortunate in Macon-Bibb County to have 3 quality foundations right here at our disposal who are always ready, willing, and able to do what we need to do to help our community. They're always there at the table. They're always doing their job. They're always in their place, and I can't thank them enough for all that they do. I talked about Urban Development Authority taking the lead on so many of our county-changing projects. We recently have a lot of people come through our community to see what we're doing in Macon-Bibb County and see why we're so special. And while yes, we do have some naysayers, those national articles don't lie. People are coming to Macon-Bibb County in droves, and I can't say that enough, but almost $1 million increase in our hotel motel tax from the previous year during a post-pandemic area. While other communities across the state, including the whole state of Georgia, is seeing a decrease in travel to the state of Georgia, and the sales tax numbers are down, Macon-Bibb County continues to lead the way, which means we are continuing to see tourism come into our community. And that can only get better with a new national park. Newtown Macon continues to strengthen our downtown and support small businesses becoming successful, and we're going to continue to grow our downtown area, but as many of you know, that our focus is not just on downtown, but all across Macon-Bibb County, and that's why we're doing great things across the community, including the East Bank project, the project at the Macon Mall in the center of our community, the project we have over on Cliffview, which is going to revitalize Houston Avenue, and all the wonderful housing that we have going on in our community. Finally, the Industrial Authority and the Chamber of Commerce are bringing new businesses to support us, and we're supporting that. I look forward to some great things that we have to continue to grow our business, to continue to have our students get those jobs. When I was at the school system, we always wanted, each and every day when we went to our meetings, especially at the College and Career Academy, we said we want our students to get those jobs. And what are those jobs? Those are high-paying jobs that our kids are educated for. We have some of the most talented and gifted students in the whole United States right here in Macon-Bibb County. We don't appreciate them enough. They take a bad rap. But we're doing everything within our power to make sure they turn out to be productive citizens and make sure that they have a hope and have a pathway to good jobs. And that's going to happen with the partners that we have here working together to make sure that we train a high qualified workforce and we give them opportunities. Finally, I want to talk about the MVP just briefly. Our MVP organizations will get ready to announce some new funding to many people. That program continues to impress me. Although you're not going to see it overnight in numbers. It's not about numbers. It's about laying the foundation. How many of you ever looked at your house, the brick that was built on under the ground? Probably not any of you, right? But you know it's solid, right? You know it's a foundation that your house has to be built on. Nobody's ever seen it. It didn't just happen overnight. It took a while to build that. That's what we're doing with the MVP program. Jeremy Grissom is doing a wonderful job on that. And again, it wouldn't happen without all the partners. So I want to thank personally Julie Moore, our Assistant County Manager. I know she's here with us today. Sharita Jones, who is here with us today. Sharita, thank you. And Rashawn Patel, who are here with you today, and all the wonderful staff that's been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that this budget is a successful, make sure it addresses all the needs and concerns that this commission has asked for. And I look forward to being able to vote on this at the earliest possible time in June. So at this time, I want to thank everyone for your patience and allowing me a moment to talk about all the wonderful things of our budget. I've told you many a times, it's my pleasure to serve as mayor of Macon-Bibb County. I truly enjoy coming to work each and every day, and I enjoy working with each and every one of you. We're always going to have our differences. There's no matter, that's just natural. That's just life. But I will continue to love and respect each and every one of you. I will continue to advocate for all the citizens of Macon-Bibb County and every part of that county. I think this budget does that, and I'm asking you to support this budget. And that's all I'm going to say on this matter. When I get back to the podium, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. And if we got enough time, we'll take a break. If not, we'll go on to our regular scheduled meeting. So thank you. This time we did go over a couple of minutes, so we're going to go ahead and move into our regular meeting. I do expect it to be short tonight, but if it doesn't, we'll just stay here till it's over. But this time I'm going to adjourn our committee the whole meeting, and I'm going to move right into our regularly scheduled commission meeting. So welcome, everyone. This is Tuesday, May the 16th, our Macon-Bibb County Commission meeting. The time is now 6:07. As we always do, as customary, I call this meeting to order, and then we're going to call on a prayer and then a pledge of allegiance. Tonight I am happy to announce that we have Father John Johnson, who's been waiting so patiently with us from St. Joseph's Catholic Church. So if you don't mind, sir, if you'll please come up to the microphone. Those of you who can and will, please bow your head, and then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance right after the prayer. Thank you.
Special thank you for your invitation to be with you this evening, and likewise, just wanted, I'm kind of the new guy on the block. I haven't even been here a year yet, but I'm very happy to be with you this evening. Please be assured of my support and ongoing prayers for you and your sacred task as civil leaders. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord Jesus, we thank you for the gift of the light of this day. We thank you for our lives. In a special way, Lord, I ask your blessings upon all the proceedings of this meeting, that those here present might be charged with the spirit of truth and justice, that they might order all things in a way consistent with the public order and common good. We ask all these things through Christ our Lord. Amen. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. At this time, we'll move on to item 4A, which is the approval of the minutes from April 18, 2023 regular meeting. Can we get a motion to approve? Got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. We'll move on to public comments on agenda items. Let me see if we have any on agenda items. We have none on agenda items. We do have some on non-agenda items, so we'll get that in just a moment. I'm not aware of any old business, but we have a consent agenda that we need to take care of. All these items were previously presented, discussed, debated, and voted on at our previous committee of a whole meeting, and they've all been sent to the consent agenda. At this time, we would ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through R. Motion by Commissioner Wynn, second by Commissioner Bronson. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Opposed, nay. That motion carries, and the consent agenda is hereby adopted. We have one public comment on non-agenda item, two. I got you. We have three people on non-agenda items. And our first is my good friend Gwinnett Westbrook. Ms. Westbrook, where you at? Snuck in on me? Didn't say what you were talking on, so I just assume it's a non-agenda item. So
it is.
Good to have you here tonight, and you may begin talking.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight to speak. I wanted to come and thank this entire government for the work that you've done, kind of out of breath, work that you've done in the community, your commitment and dedication to our community. I am thankful for our mayor and our commissioners in not raising the fare for our community, people in the community, because as we know that we're still suffering from the pandemic, COVID, and a lot of businesses have not been able to sustain the pandemic that was brought upon us. Some of our businesses downtown have not been able to recover, so we thought that raising the bus fares would not be sufficient for our community, and we want to, on behalf of the NAACP, we want to thank our mayor and the commissioners for stepping up to the plate and making sure that those fares did not increase. I want to also thank the mayor and this commissioner, the entire body, for looking out for our community as a whole and making sure that Macon-Bibb as a whole things that are being done in our community. The NAACP, and including myself as a citizen, is very satisfied with the things that has taken place in our community as far as, for example, blight, to make sure that blight is erased from all different sides in the entire city of Macon, not just in certain areas. So we want to thank you for that. We want to thank you for your dedication in providing safety, number one priority in our community, keeping the community safe. At this time, on behalf of the NAACP and myself as a citizen, I want to say I can remember coming down here a few years ago and addressing an issue in my community where the trucks were parking down near the Walmart area. It caused a lot of blight, trash, and I was told that I shouldn't be coming down here, but Mayor Lester Miller, as soon as you got in office, I saw signs put up, and I saw there was signs put up saying no parking. I want to thank you and this commissioner for that, because we do know that when there's blighted areas in your community, it brings the property value down. So I want to thank you all so much. At this time, on behalf of the NAACP, we would like to submit this certificate of appreciation to our Mayor Lester Miller and the Macon-Bibb County Commissioners. If Mayor Lester Miller, if you'll please come down, in the commission, if you all will stand, we want to present this dedication to and it reads, Macon-Bibb Branch NACP, Mayor Lester Miller, Macon-Bibb County Commissioners, in appreciation on behalf of the Macon-Bibb Branch NACP, thank you for your dedicated service and commitment in making a difference in our community. Signed by the President myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Westbrook, for that, and for everything you continue to do in our community. And also thank you for being at our GBI announcement. It meant a lot to see you there, and I thank Commissioner Lucas for making sure that we got the invite to you and you accepted it. So this time we have Ms. Ginger Davis. Ms. Davis, you here? Don't see her here. I think she might have emailed this in. Mr. Horton, we'll hear from you this time, sir.
Good evening. I too would like to express my appreciation, just like Ms. Westbrook did, about this commission and mayor making it possible that fares for Macon-Bibb would not increase. And I know that without this body, it would not have happened, without this leadership. So we are very grateful for that. And the award that you got from Ms. Westbrook, I think it is very deserving. There's a lot of good and positive things happening here in the city of Macon, because we all love Macon. Now, but the work that has to be done at the Transit Authority is not complete. And for me, it's about the sovereignty of the authority and the people that it serves, not about personal attacks or anything like that. In the past, I have been given updates about what happens at the Transit Authority meeting. I feel that it's very important that this body knows enough information that they can go and research and find out for themselves whether it's true or not. At the last meeting, there was a discussion about ADA, whether the building was ADA certified or safe, and it was a presentation by the CEO that said everything was fine there. You know, it was a safe building, and that wasn't true. I spoke at that meeting and I expressed that in order to have for it to be safe, there needs to be access to the boardroom that would be safe for everybody. The steps are very narrow. The steps are probably this narrow. If I'm trying to exit the building in a hurry or expedite myself out of the building, I'm using my cane, it would trip people because we're all not thinking, we're just trying to get to safety. Now, when you look at the American with Disability Act, it's not just for us, because at any point in time, you could become disabled. It may be temporary, but you may be disabled, so some of those will cover you. When we left the building, well, I told them, I said, well, the elevator, for someone like me, they just got a grant for $400,000 for an elevator. Elevator doesn't tell you what floor you're on, so I don't know. So if I'm getting out of that building, rushing out, and I need to go to the first floor, I may get off at the second floor. I heard they have added a ding since that meeting, but a ding helps someone who has mobility issues and not visual issues. A ding doesn't tell me what floor I am on. So when I first started going to the transit authority, we were meeting on the first floor. And that was a much safer alternative than going to the fourth floor when you have to take an elevator there and then you have to go up steps. And if you're wheelchair bound, you take the elevator to the fourth floor and then you have to get on another elevator to go to the meeting floor. That's unacceptable. And then we talked about some transit buses, paratransit buses, and I wasn't going to talk about it because I know that we really don't have any other buses. But those buses are not ADA certified. There are seat belts on the bus that you have to take from one side to the other side to snap it, and they hang in the aisle. And the other day I was on there and the seat belt wrapped around my leg, and I had to shake it off. Then, for it to be a paratransit bus, there are no handicap accessible railings on some of the buses so that you can safely get down before you fall. Those are not ADA certified buses. And a person that has an extensive history working in transit would know that those buses should not be for paratransit use. We're looking for safety, and they don't meet ADA certification. Like I said, I'm not asking for the buses to be removed because they don't have any buses right now. But these are some things that you need to be aware of, because when people look at the Macon Transit Authority, they think it's Macon. There are people who think they work for the Macon city government. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. I will say, just a brief comment and not for discussion, that we have become aware of some potential issues there. Keep in mind that Macon-Bibb County is the one who owned that building before Macon Transit Authority, and should have had that responsibility to make sure it's ADA compliant. So I've been in contact with Mr. Ross to make sure that they look and make sure all the needs are addressed for ADA compliant there, and we're willing to provide them any assistance that they need to do that. But it is on the radar. Things will get done. I'm not sure if they'll move their boardroom in the near future or not, because some of the departments will be leaving that building and going to the mall, so there may be some rearranging there that make it more accessible to you. But thank you for being here tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the completion of our meeting today. It's been a good meeting. I trust everyone. You'll have a copy of the budget a book that we have prepared for you. You can get that perhaps before you leave. We have it back in the mayor's conference room, I believe, so you can happy to do that. We'll also be posting it online. If it hadn't already been posted during our meeting, it'll be posted online, open and transparent for everyone to see. So at this time, I don't think there's any more business before us today, and we will not have a meeting next week, so we will see you on June the 6th. This meeting is hereby adjourned.